I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.
Welcome to Studio Sacramento. I'm your host, Scott Syfax. Today's program was made in partnership with the American Leadership Forum. 2012 is ALF's 15th year in our area, bringing together over 300 local leaders working together to unite, strengthen, and serve for the betterment of our entire region. So we've closed the chapter on a tough 2011. Now with the national election at stake, and economic security, a kitchen table conversation in almost every household. What issues matter most for our community? Who's going to be involved in those issues? And what events are going to be the most important to you? Joining us today to answer these questions are three leaders with their pulse on what's happening next. Michelle Wong, CEO of two tech companies, Synergix and Clean World Partners. Cassandra Pai, Senior Vice President of the International Public Affairs and Strategic Consulting firm, APCO Worldwide. And Robin Trimble, CEO of the Rockland Chamber of Commerce. Let's get to it. Where did 2011 leave us, Cassandra?
Probably scared and a little bit depressed, to be honest.
Okay.
Let's think about the headlines that we all read online and in real newspapers that came out in 2011, from the international crisis, particularly in Europe, to our own economic situation here in the U.S., and then think about all the headlines in this region, not just Sacramento, sort of our Sacramento, but also the state that Sacramento represents, and just the fact that the news was bad, it was scary, it was depressing, things appeared as though they were going to make their way back up, and then they slipped back down. And so I think it was a tough year. I think you said this in your opening comments. It was a tough year for a lot of people. And I think it was probably a year that most people were happy to see get behind them. I think a lot of people are looking forward to 2012.
Michelle, as an entrepreneur and a CEO, in the conversations you have with people both in your industry and generally within the region, if there was one thing that they took out of 2011, what would it have been?
Well, I think that I agree with Cassandra. I think there's a lot of people who are glad to see 2011 behind them. I think that there was a lot of focus in the Sacramento area on the housing market in particular. I think that we continued to suffer from foreclosures and a glut of product available. But I think that we need to focus on the fact that many of the companies, tech companies in particular, for example, really aren't dependent on the local economy for our business. A lot of the tech companies are working internationally, nationally, and their customers are outside this region. So I think that if we can focus on where we are strong and working outside, bringing money into the region through companies that are dealing nationally, internationally, we can pump up the economy and get money flowing back in Sacramento again.
Well, Robin, you serve a whole range of businesses,
Yes.
from tech company to Main Street USA.
Yeah.
Your folks, is there any common theme in terms of what they're looking forward to in 2012?
They're looking to exhale, I think, to be honest with you. This has gone on a long time, and businesses are holding on. They're cautious. I feel that they have a glimmer of hope. They're thinking it's got to get better. But they've been scared. I think, they've made adjustments to their businesses to feel comfortable in the new economy, the new environments they're working in their business. But I think they're going to exhale. They're going to, look around. They're going to look for stability. They're going to look for some consistency, and hopefully they're going to make some expansions. I mean, to your point, I mean, I think they're looking to make some changes.
Well, you know, the kitchen table conversations that are going on every single day throughout the region is about jobs and about economic security and the like. And one of the things that I get asked all the time is, are we turning the corner? Are we turning the corner? Does any of you want to venture a guess as to whether you feel like we are at the point where we're beginning to turn the corner within the region itself?
There's some indicators that would say we're just about there. I'm going to say that really guardedly and as cautious as I can because we've been there before. I think the other thing that we've lacked is leadership. And that's not to point the finger at a single leader or a single group of leaders. I'm in the communications profession. And the one thing I've been dying to hear someone do is lay out just clearly and plainly a little bit about what got us here and then what the strategy is that's going to get us down the road. Because sometimes when you say to people, we've got to get here, it's going to be a little bit of a crisscross and some divots in the road and a few left turns and a few right turns, but here's how we're going to get there. Sometimes when people just know there's a plan, they're a little bit more at ease about sort of making their way through the turns, and they even say to themselves, you know, someone predicted there was going to be a little bit of a curveball here and there. So I think there's a need to hear a couple of politicians and leaders, if you will, articulate sort of what the roadmap is going to look like, and I think people will start to get a little more comfortable. And I think even that helps to encourage a little bit of investment, make people feel more comfortable about continuing to put the time and the energy into investing in new businesses or growing those that exist. But this dialogue is missing for me, and I struggle with it. And I think that's the reason why these conversations take place around the tables, because people are curious about how we're going to do it.
Well, there is a discussion that is going on regionally, Next Economy. And Michelle, I know that you're aware of those conversations. Sure. Does that effort answer the roadmap question that Cassandra is posing?
It certainly can help. I think overall, more broadly, it's about collaboration. I think that no individual leader is going to be able to solve the problems that are out there. I think, as in any case, crisis brings people together. And so sometimes, you know, you get through a crisis and you come out much stronger than you started. So I think that, you know, we're in a place where everybody knows, okay, folks, we're going to have to pull together and make this happen. And so I think collaboration and efforts like Next Economy, where we're bringing together organizations like the Chamber, SACOG, SACTO, you know, all the various organizations that are individually very strong, but we need them all to come together and create something that we can all move in the same direction toward.
Robin, in terms of an effort like Next Economy or any of the other economic development efforts happening in the region, one of the things that comes up, though, is that a lot of the people involved are people who are not the entrepreneurs that are needed to create the jobs.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, the entrepreneurs are busy. Michelle's the CEO of two different companies at the same time, and so we all have a limited amount of bandwidth. But what's the path to involving more of those people who are invested in the job creation side of the equation in being able to actually participate and make a difference in trying to grow this collaboration?
Well, I mean, to the points that you guys made, I mean, we have to have a focused voice, I believe. And we've got to be able to make it a simple, focused voice so that the entrepreneurs who are busy running their businesses can say, okay, this is a piece of recovery I can jump in on. This is a piece, this is how I can play a part. I mean, I think we need to not just speak about what we want to do. We've got to engage people and invite people to be part of the solution. I mean, we can build all the roadmaps we want, but what we have to do is we have to invite people to be participate participate in the recovery of the economy. Absolutely. I mean, you know, we need to engage people and ask them to be there, especially the very creative entrepreneurs who are willing to do anything. I mean, they really want to see things recover.
I want to focus on business for one more second and pose to you, as the head of a Chamber of Commerce, a recent issue that came up, which was Waste Connections are only, I believe, or our largest publicly traded company within the region is leaving. It's decamping to Texas. And that's a loss on a lot of different levels. You're a former executive with USAA, which also left many years ago.
Yes.
Can you share with us, one, the implications of that sort of move, and number two, from your vantage point, what sorts of parts of the conversation need to take place so that we're sure to retain all that we can in the future?
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, I think that we need to really understand that we need to have honest conversations, and that Californians are under siege. I mean, business in California is going to be, you know, I mean, other states are predators to us. I mean, we need to understand that we need to have honest conversations about it. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, people want to poach our businesses, and the smaller businesses, the easier to get them to relocate, right? You're not going to get a 5,000 employee business. It will take years. They may, you know, it's very costly. But 100 people here, you know, USAA had about 1,000 people when they left. I mean, it adds up over time, right? And we have to be creative, and we have to have honest conversations about how are we going to keep people here. I mean, you cannot have businesses that have expenses that are 30% more than any other state and expect them to stay long. They're just not, they can't. And you know, we've got people who are ready to come and get those businesses, and we need to be proactive on that now.
Cassandra, as a communications professional that works with people all over the world, give us a sense of what this region's brand is, or do we have one right now?
That's a really good question. I think we're viewed as a capital city. I think we've benefited from years and years and years of prosperity due to the housing market, due to construction. I mean, this was a little bit of a boom town, to use the term from the 1800s, for a little bit of time. And I think now we've lost a little bit of our luster, and I wonder if we do have much of an identity globally. Let me add one thing to the point I made earlier. If we are having a conversation about leadership, but what voters and the average person sees is partisanship and bickering and excuses and, you know, sort of a little bit of that more than anything about long-term or strategy or anything, it gets a little confusing and a little muddled. I'll bridge back to your question. I think what's happened in Sacramento is, now that we've lost, you know, government, we've lost sort of that mainstay of government spending, if you will, and investment in the economy, and now we've lost the building sector, the construction sector. We've got this gap and this opportunity, I'd say, to sort of think about something else. What is it that we want to be? I think that's what I'd like to
Michelle,
see some of that conversation look like. What do we want to be like?
Tell us what's going on that's good.
Gloom and doom.
Okay.
So I think that there's a lot of good news. I think, as I said earlier, there are a lot of companies, and they're probably not as prominent and well known because they aren't doing business in Sacramento. They do business from Sacramento, but they're doing business all over the world. And there are clean tech companies, high tech companies, IT related companies here in the Sacramento area that are hiring people, hiring engineers, hiring software engineers, et cetera. And I think that I can't say that, I mean, obviously the economy globally has suffered. So regardless of how diversified you are, you've certainly seen some impact. But I think the prolonged impact that we have in Sacramento has not affected companies that are working with customers outside the area. So I think there's a lot of good things happening. UC Davis has some incredible technologies, leadership in the areas of clean tech, ag tech, engineering, environmental sciences. All of the big world problems right now, we have leadership in our area that can address those problems.
You know, on that point, it seems as if, let's drill down a little bit on this. It seems like UC Davis is more of a player regionally in terms of the economy and arts, you name it, than it has been historically. Is that just a perception?
No, I definitely agree that that's the case. The recent change in leadership, there is a deliberate initiative to go out into the community and to try to create companies and to become part of the economy. And it has allowed them to create easier methods for licensing the technologies on campus. I've talked to many people. We actually are licensing a couple of different technologies from UC Davis, and I've talked to many people who have said, this is not your father's UC Davis. We can get things done. We can get things done a lot more quickly, and they want to be entrepreneurial. They want to see the technologies flourish and become commercialized.
Well,
That's the opportunity.
that's the opportunity. Well, Robin, in your neck of the woods, there are some private universities. One, William Jessup,
University, yeah.
is out there. Another conversation that is going on is that we have a number of players. We've got UC Davis, we've got CSU Sacramento, we've got the Los Rios Community College System, Drexel. In talking with the leadership of UOP recently, they have a very strong desire to have a bigger presence in this area. Are we leveraging and getting that level of collaboration so that all of this intellectual and inventive firepower that potentially we have within the region in our higher education system is really being leveraged?
Well, to Michelle's point, she talked about this earlier. I mean, we definitely need to collaborate. I mean, that is a great opportunity. The other thing, we talked about was, what about a workforce for the future? I mean, once the economy turns around, we're going to need employees. And we need to keep our students that we're educating here in this region. So I think that's, we need to be deliberate and be focused on making sure that when the economy does turn around, we have those students here and we have jobs for them.
Is that an issue where it is that we're graduating students and they're actually leaving the region?
Oh, I mean, I would defer to Michelle, but I would say from a business perspective, yes, absolutely. And we need to be deliberate and focused on making sure that once the economy does turn around, we have work for our students and the students that are graduating, because you don't want to send the talent out of the the state or anywhere.
I would argue that we even in some cases have the opposite problem. We don't have the right kinds of students graduating that we need. I know at Synergex we are often having difficulty finding the right kinds of software engineers, and we're having to go outside, not only outside the state, but outside the country sometimes to get the people who are trained properly. So, and I was having a conversation with somebody from Aerojet the other day. They have some positions that have been open for over a year that they can't fill. And these are technical positions. And I think we have to be encouraging our kids to go into those kinds of careers. And I think there is collaboration. I think that people are trying to put that together. I was actually at a meeting last night of the education committee for the Powerhouse Science Center, and there were leaders from Sac County Office of Education, Los Rios, one of the deans from Sac State, one of the deans from UC Davis, somebody from American River College. They're trying to collaborate, they're trying to come together and create a more educated workforce, especially in the areas of STEM.
Let's talk about the other big issues in the region. We've talked a lot about the economy, and that is uppermost on most people's minds, but arts, society, law enforcement, what else is it that, Cassandra, is an issue that's top of mind for the people that you represent on a daily basis?
Top of mind for people I represent, I'll go back and make a little bit of a plug for you on leadership. Because I do think while we're sending some of our kids away, we're at least holding on to a handful of them and training them to be leaders. It's about that next generation. And through Scott's leadership and the Nehemiah Emerging Leaders Program, for example, we are doing something good in that we're holding some people here, not letting them get away to run for office at other places, but we're keeping them here and we're training them. We're teaching them to collaborate. We're establishing relationships and ties. So I think people are thinking about the what next, so to speak. What's next for Sacramento. To your point about how we're viewed, I think there are a couple of opportunities we've talked about with educational institutions that sit here that may change that image. We're not just a government town, but maybe we start to become a hotbed for intellects and for intellectual capital. I think the election is top of mind. I think the direction the state and the region is headed is top of mind for people that I work with. I think California, California still viewed as a little bit quirky, certainly by clients and partners in other parts of the world and other parts of the country. We're a little bit quirky. We had a movie star as a governor for
Who you
7
used to be the
years.
deputy chief of staff for.
This is true. And now we've got the reincarnation of Jerry Brown. I think, though, there is interest in the way he's governed. I think there's going to be interest in what happens on this coming ballot with his tax proposal. I think if he's in a position to first garner the signatures and then qualify and then win in November a ballot issue that's sort of a tax issue that sort of balances the budget and gives us some long-term stability, that's going to be something that is a game changer. And I assume at some point we're going to talk about regional issues and talk about the arena and sort of what all of that means.
Let me ask the three of you on that particular point. Does maintaining the Kings, which means we have to have an arena, is that a game changer if that doesn't happen for Sacramento's reputation? Thought.
I think it's a symbol. I think it's a symbol for a lot of things. I think Kevin did show a lot of leadership when he pulled the business community together and said, here's exactly what I need from you. And I think this is what Robin was talking about earlier. Business people are very busy in their businesses, but if you have a strong vision and you can show them what it is and you can say, and this is exactly what I need from you to make this happen, then they're going to participate. And I think that keeping the Kings here and getting that arena built, it's a symbol for all of us that with the right kind of leadership, collaboration, and participation, we can do anything. And so I think it's very important that that arena get built.
I'd add one word to that, and then I'd say focus.
Right.
It's a singular thing. It's concrete. You know what it is. You know what happens at the end. If we take that energy, to your point, and find the next thing, which for me is probably finding an anchor company, a large company to anchor its headquarters here, and use all of those elements and tie them together, then it will have been worth it. I don't think it necessarily moves the needle. I think to Michelle's point, it's symbolic. I hope we get it done, but I don't think it changes. I don't think it changes the game.
Right. But is it symbolic, Robin, in that it proves that we can actually get something done? Because a lot of people are concerned that we as a region are broken and we just can't get anything done.
Well, I mean, I think to Michelle's point, it is the plan we've talked about since the beginning of the show, right? It's the invitation to people to get something done. And then, it's literally a building. Right? It's literally something you can see. It's literally something you can touch. It's something we can all be, very proud of. So I absolutely, I absolutely agree. It's symbolic.
Let's, in our final moments, turn to cultural affairs, things that have to do with how we live and what we focus on when we're not at work. What is going to be a big cultural happening or some way that we're going to be living increasingly that's going to be influenced by the times that we're in 2012? Anyone have something to offer?
If we could get an MLS team in Elk Grove, I'd be happy.
Major League Soccer?
Major League Soccer, that would change. That'd be a game changer for the Pye family, certainly. Well, I thought about this a little bit, Scott, and we talked a little bit amongst ourselves. We're here. I mean, there's so many great people here, creative people, leaders, people who've really got the guts to sort of keep at it. There's something about that, and then you mix in the intellectual capital that we've talked about and the energy. If we could get a win, and if we could demonstrate to your point that we got it and it's there, I think it would change so much. Then we've got so much natural resource around us that's just fascinating to
Robin?
and fabulous to take advantage of.
You know, I think in hard times, like we've talked about, you know, people pull together. And I think philanthropy and giving back to our community is going to be something that is going to be a positive residual out of, you know, what we've been through together.
We would certainly hope so. There's a thing called the Generosity Project that measures how much we give in this region, and we don't really get it at the level that other cities with as much wealth as we have, our size gives to others. And I know that as the volunteer executive director of the Powerhouse Science Center, you might have a comment on that. We have about 30 seconds left.
So I'm happy to say that I think one of the game changers this year is going to be that we're going to break ground on the Powerhouse Science Center, and I think we've been able to get the momentum that is needed to raise the money. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of leadership and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from some great people on the committee.
All right. Well, that is our show, and we are out of time. And I want to thank you all very much for being a part of it. Folks, you heard it here. Invest in our region. 2012 is going to be a better year, but it's going to take all of us to be a part of it. I want to thank our guests, Cassandra Pai, Robin Trimble, and Michelle Wong, for talking with us today. There's lots of talk on television, but only a few places where the conversations matter. I'm Scott Syphax, and you've been watching Studio Sacramento. Join us next time, right here on KVIE.
I'm James Beckwith, President and CEO of Five Star Bank. As a community bank, we believe that open dialogue about the issues affecting our region is vitally important. From the economy to the environment to social issues, we look forward to the conversations and hope you'll join in.